Alex Morgan stood back to admire the simple buttercream swirl on top of the vanilla cupcake, watching his daughter Lily's eyes widen with delight. Neither of them could have predicted that in just 24 hours, these humble homemade treats would catch the attention of Olivia Reed, the nation's most celebrated pastry chef. As Alex placed the last cupcake in the container for tomorrow's school bake sale, he had no idea that his desperate late-night baking attempt was about to transform their lives forever and launch a culinary empire in ZA that would capture America's heart. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button to make my day and let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Dad, are you sure we can't just buy something from the store? Lily Morgan asked, eyeing the kitchen counter with skepticism. At 10 years old, she had her father's practical nature and her mother's expressive brown eyes, currently wide with doubt as she surveyed the array of ingredients Alex had hastily assembled. The note specifically said homemade, sweetheart, Alex replied, running a hand through his already disheveled dark hair. The school bake sale announcement had been crumpled at the bottom of Lily's backpack for a week, discovered only when he'd been searching for her permission slip for tomorrow's field trip. Now, at 9:30 p.m. on a Thursday night, they were facing a culinary emergency. The kitchen of their modest two-bedroom apartment wasn't used to such activity. Since Claire's death 3 years ago, cooking had become functional rather than joyful, a necessary task rather than a shared pleasure. Alex had mastered a rotation of kid-friendly meals that kept them fed, but baking was territory he'd avoided entirely. It required precision, patience, and a knowledge of chemistry he didn't possess. We could say they're homemade, but actually buy them, Lily suggested, with the pragmatic logic of a child who had adapted to life with a single working father. Nobody would know. Alex smiled despite his anxiety. I would know, and so would you. Besides, isn't Ms. Henderson using this to teach about honesty and community contribution? Lily sighed dramatically, dropping into a kitchen chair. I guess. Look, Alex said, opening his laptop. How hard can it be? We'll find a simple recipe, follow the instructions exactly, and everything will be fine. His confidence belied the flutter of panic in his chest. Since becoming Lily's only parent, he'd faced countless challenges, from learning to braid hair to navigating the murky waters of preteen girl friendships. But baking somehow seemed more daunting than all of that combined. Alex worked as a graphic designer for a mid-sized marketing firm, spending his days creating visuals for other people's products. He was creative, detail-oriented, and generally good with instructions. These skills, he reasoned, should transfer to baking. It was just another form of creation, following another set of directions. At least, that's what he told himself, as he searched for simple cupcake recipes for beginners. This one has 5 stars and says foolproof, he announced, turning the screen so Lily could see. Vanilla cupcakes with buttercream frosting. We have most of the ingredients already. Lily peered at the recipe doubtfully. It says we need cake flour. We only have regular flour. Alex quickly searched for substitutions. Says here we can use all-purpose flour and cornstarch as a substitute. Do we have cornstarch? A thorough rummaging through the pantry produced a container of cornstarch, its expiration date mercifully still in the future. They also found sugar, vanilla extract, butter, and eggs. A quick trip to their elderly neighbor Mrs. Patel yielded baking powder and a set of slightly worn cupcake liners in exchange for a promise of 2 of the finished products. By 10:15 p.m., their kitchen had transformed into what Alex jokingly called Baking Central, though it more closely resembled the aftermath of a minor explosion. Flour dusted every surface, eggshells littered the counter, and butter had somehow found its way onto the refrigerator door. Okay, so we mix the dry ingredients in one bowl and the wet ingredients in another, Alex read from the recipe, trying to project confidence. Which ones are the dry ingredients again? Lily asked, now fully invested in their midnight baking adventure. Flour, baking powder, salt, Alex replied, carefully measuring each into a bowl. The precision reminded him of adjusting color values in his design work, a thought that calmed his nerves slightly. They worked together, Lily reading instructions aloud while Alex executed them, occasionally pausing to wipe flour from her nose or fish out an errant piece of eggshell. the kitchen filled with the warm scent of vanilla as they stirred, mixed, and eventually filled the cupcake liners with batter that seemed promisingly smooth. "It says to fill them 2/3 full," Lily noted, peering at the laptop screen. "I think we put too much in some of them." Alex assessed their work. Some cupcake liners were indeed more full than others, but it was nearly 11 p.m., and perfection seemed a distant goal. "They'll be fine," he assured her, with more confidence than he felt. "Let's get them in the oven." As the cupcakes baked, they tackled the frosting, creaming butter, and gradually adding powdered sugar until their mixer protested against the thick consistency. Lily added vanilla and a splash of milk, her small face intent with concentration as she watched the frosting transform into a smooth, pipeable texture. "Now we just need to let the cupcakes cool completely before frosting them," Alex read, checking the time. It was approaching midnight, and Lily's eyelids were growing heavy. "Why don't you go get ready for bed while I finish up? I'll let you frost a couple in the morning before school." "Promise?" Lily asked, suppressing a yawn. "Promise." After Lily had brushed her teeth and changed into pajamas, Alex tucked her into bed, pushing aside a collection of stuffed animals to make room to sit on the edge of her mattress. "Thanks for helping me tonight, Lilypad," he said, using the nickname that had stuck since her toddler days. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Are the cupcakes going to be good?" she asked sleepily. Alex considered the question. The cupcakes had risen unevenly in the oven, some developing peaks, while others had sunken centers. They weren't picture-perfect by any stretch, but they smelled delicious. "They're made with love," he answered diplomatically. "And that's the most important ingredient." Lily smiled, her eyes already closing. "Mom would have said that too." The simple observation caught Alex off guard, a bittersweet pang in his chest. Claire had been the baker in their family, filling their home with the scents of cinnamon and chocolate on weekend mornings. After her death, he'd packed away her recipe books, unable to face the memories they held. Tonight was the first time he'd attempted anything beyond heating up a frozen pizza in 3 years. "Yes," he agreed softly. "She would have." He kissed Lily's forehead and quietly left the room, closing the door behind him. Back in the kitchen, Alex confronted the cooling cupcakes. They were decidedly homemade-looking, with irregular tops and slightly burned edges on a few. But as he carefully removed them from the tin, he found they had a springy texture that seemed promising. Following the recipe's instructions, he waited until they were completely cool before attempting to frost them. His first efforts at decorating were clumsy. Without proper piping bags, he'd fashioned a makeshift one from a plastic sandwich bag with the corner snipped off. The results were far from the elegant swirl shown in the recipe photo, but by the third cupcake, he'd developed a technique that produced a passable spiral. By the 12th, he was feeling almost confident. It was nearly 2 a.m. when Alex finally cleaned the kitchen and packed the finished cupcakes into a container borrowed from Mrs. Patel. They wouldn't win any beauty contests, but they were undeniably homemade, with all the charming imperfections that implied. Setting his alarm for an earlier start than usual, he collapsed into bed, dreaming of buttercream mountains and valleys of cake flour. Morning arrived too quickly, the insistent beeping of his alarm pulling Alex from sleep. He shuffled into the kitchen to start coffee before waking Lily, who bounced out of bed with unusual enthusiasm for a school day. "Could I frost one now?" she asked, making a beeline for the container of cupcakes. Alex nodded, pouring himself a much-needed cup of coffee. "Just one. The rest are for the bake sale." Lily carefully selected a cupcake and the remaining frosting, her face scrunched in concentration as she attempted to replicate her father's simple swirl technique. The result was lopsided but enthusiastic, with a generous amount of frosting piled precariously on one side. "Perfect!" she declared, proudly showing Alex her creation. "Absolutely," he agreed, snapping a quick photo with his phone. "Should we taste test one, just to make sure they're okay?" Lily's eyes widened at this unexpected suggestion of rule-breaking. "But then, we'll only have 11 for the sale." "I think that's still enough," Alex said, selecting the least attractive cupcake from the batch. "Besides, we need to make sure they're edible before we inflict them on the public." They divided the cupcake, each taking a cautious bite. Alex was prepared for disappointment, for flour that hadn't been properly incorporated, or an overwhelming sweetness from too much sugar. Instead, he found himself surprised by the light, moist texture and balanced flavor. They weren't professional quality, but they were undeniably good. "Dad!" Lily exclaimed, her expression one of astonishment. "These are actually really yummy!" Alex took another bite, equally surprised. "They are, aren't they? Beginner's luck, I guess." The morning routine resumed its usual rhythm after their impromptu taste test. Breakfast, brushing teeth, finding missing homework, and the daily hunt for matching socks filled the next hour until it was time to leave for school. Alex carefully placed the container of remaining cupcakes in a canvas tote bag, handing it to Lily as they headed out the door. "Remember to tell Ms. Henderson that we made these together," he reminded her. "And that we saved 2 for Mrs. Patel." "I will," Lily promised, clutching the bag protectively as they walked the 3 blocks to her elementary school. The schoolyard was busy with the usual morning chaos of arriving students, parents dropping off forgotten lunches, and teachers herding children toward classroom doors. Alex walked Lily to her 5th grade classroom, where a table had been set up outside the door for bake sale contributions. Several elaborate creations already occupied prime positions, including what appeared to be professionally decorated cookies and an impressive 3-layer cake. Alex felt a twinge of inadequacy as Lily placed their humble cupcakes among these clearly superior offerings. Ms. Henderson, a cheerful woman in her early 30s with a perpetual ponytail and sensible shoes, greeted them warmly. "Homemade cupcakes! Wonderful!" she exclaimed, opening the container to peek inside. "These look delicious, Lily. Did you help make them?" Lily nodded proudly. "Dad and I made them together last night. We didn't know about the bake sale until yesterday." Ms. Henderson smiled sympathetically at Alex. "Last-minute notifications are an elementary school tradition, I'm afraid. But these look great. Thanks for contributing." Alex returned her smile, feeling slightly less self-conscious about their offering. "Happy to help. What time is the sale again?" "Right after lunch," Ms. Henderson replied. "Around 1:30 a.m. Parents are welcome to come, but don't feel obligated. We have plenty of volunteers." Under normal circumstances, Alex would have headed straight to his office after drop-off. Freelancing alongside his full-time job meant he couldn't afford to waste productive hours. But today, he found himself hesitating. "I might stop by," he said, surprising himself as much as Ms. Henderson. "I've got a flexible schedule today." This wasn't entirely true, but he could shift some work to the evening if necessary. "Great!" Ms. Henderson's enthusiasm seemed genuine. The kids love having their parents attend school events. After saying goodbye to Lily, Alex walked toward the subway station, mentally reorganizing his day to accommodate a return to the school in the afternoon. There was something about seeing their cupcakes alongside the more polished contributions that bothered him, a nagging feeling that he should have tried harder, planned better, been more prepared. It was a familiar sensation, this sense of falling short, of not providing Lily with the same experiences she would have had if Claire were still alive. The workday passed in a blur of client calls and design revisions. Alex's mind kept wandering back to the bake sale, imagining Lily's disappointment if their cupcakes remained unsold while fancier offerings disappeared. By 1:15 a.m., he'd made a decision. Shutting down his laptop and grabbing his jacket, he headed back to the school, arriving just as parents and students began to fill the hallway where tables had been set up to display the baked goods. He spotted Lily immediately, standing behind a table with 2 classmates, wearing a paper hat that identified her as a bake sale helper. Her face lit up when she saw him, a mixture of surprise and delight that made the rescheduled client call entirely worthwhile. "Dad, you came!" she called, waving enthusiastically. Alex made his way through the crowd to her table, noting with a pang that their cupcakes had been positioned at the far end, partially obscured by an impressive display of elaborately decorated cake pops. "Wouldn't miss it," he replied, trying to sound as though he'd planned to attend all along. "Mrs. Chen put me at the cupcake table," Lily explained, gesturing to the array of baked goods before her. "We have chocolate cupcakes with peanut butter frosting, red velvet cupcakes with cream cheese frosting, and our vanilla cupcakes." Alex noticed she'd said "our" with pride, and his heart swelled. "Quite a selection. How's business so far?" "We just started," Lily replied. But Ms. Henderson says everything will sell because people always want sweets after lunch. The sale began in earnest as more parents arrived, some clearly on their lunch breaks judging by their professional attire and occasional glances at watches. Alex stepped back, finding a spot against the wall where he could observe without hovering. The cake pops went quickly, followed by the professionally decorated cookies. To his surprise, several people examined the various cupcake offerings carefully before making selections. A woman approached the table, stylishly dressed in simple black pants and a crisp white blouse that somehow remained spotless despite the crowded environment. Her dark hair was pulled back in a sleek ponytail, and even from a distance, Alex could see she had the kind of bone structure that photographers loved, all clean angles and perfect symmetry. "What kind of cupcakes are these?" she asked Lily, pointing to their homemade creations. "Vanilla with buttercream frosting," Lily answered promptly. "My dad and I made them last night. They're really good. We taste tested one this morning." The woman smiled at Lily's candor. "That's exactly the kind of quality control I like to hear about. I'll take 2, please." Alex watched as Lily carefully placed 2 cupcakes in a paper napkin and handed them to the woman, who passed her a $10 bill. "Keep the change for the school," she said, accepting the cupcakes. She moved to a quieter corner of the hallway before taking a bite of one, her expression thoughtful as she chewed. More customers arrived at the table, and Alex lost sight of the woman as he focused on Lily's evident enjoyment of her role as sales assistant. By the time the crowd began to thin, nearly all the baked goods had been sold. To Alex's amazement, their humble cupcakes had disappeared completely, while several of the fancier offerings remained. "We sold out," Lily announced triumphantly when he approached the table again. "Ms. Henderson said it's because they looked homemade and people like that better sometimes." "That's great, sweetheart," Alex replied, helping her clean up the empty containers and crumbs. "You were an excellent saleswoman." "Excuse me," a voice interrupted. Alex turned to find the stylishly dressed woman who had purchased their cupcakes standing nearby. Up close, he realized she was vaguely familiar, though he couldn't place where he might have seen her before. "Are you the baker?" she asked. Yes, I guess so," Alex admitted, feeling suddenly self-conscious. "My daughter and I made them together." "They're excellent," she said decisively. "The crumb structure is perfect, moist without being dense, and the vanilla flavor comes through clearly without being overpowering. The buttercream has just the right balance of sweetness." "May I ask what recipe you used?" Alex blinked, taken aback by the professional assessment. "It was just something I found online. Nothing special." "I disagree," the woman replied with a smile. "There's something distinctive about them, a freshness that most home bakers don't achieve." She extended her hand. "I'm Olivia Reed. I'd love to talk to you about your baking." The name clicked into place in Alex's mind, and he felt a sudden wave of disbelief. Olivia Reed was a celebrity chef, with multiple cookbooks, a line of bakeware, and a popular cooking show. Her face regularly appeared on magazine covers and cooking segments on morning television. And she was complimenting his desperate midnight baking attempt. "Alex Morgan," he managed, shaking her hand. "And this is my daughter Lily. We're not really bakers. Last night was actually the first time I've made cupcakes." Olivia's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose in surprise. "Really? That's even more impressive." She reached into her purse and extracted a business card, handing it to Alex. "I'd love to discuss this further. Would you be available for coffee sometime this week? I have an idea I'd like to propose." Alex accepted the card automatically, still struggling to process what was happening. "Sure, I guess. Yes, that would be fine." "Excellent. Call my assistant to set up a time. And please, bring the recipe." With a warm smile for Lily and a nod to Alex, she turned and walked away, leaving them staring after her in confusion. "Dad?" Lily whispered urgently, tugging at his sleeve. "Who was that lady?" "That," Alex replied slowly, looking down at the elegant business card in his hand, "was Olivia Reed. She's a famous chef, and apparently, she likes our cupcakes." The rest of the afternoon passed in a haze of disbelief. Alex returned to work, though his productivity suffered, as he kept wondering if he had somehow misunderstood the encounter. Why would a celebrated chef with a culinary empire be interested in his basic vanilla cupcakes? It made no sense. Several times, he nearly convinced himself that she had merely been being polite, that the invitation for coffee was a casual suggestion never meant to be taken seriously. But the business card sitting on his desk was undeniably real. Its heavyweight stock, an embossed logo testifying to its authenticity. After wrestling with his doubts through the remainder of the workday, Alex finally picked up the phone and dialed the number printed on the card. A crisp, professional voice answered on the second ring. Olivia Reed Enterprises, this is Jessica speaking. Hello, Alex began uncertainly. My name is Alex Morgan. Olivia Reed gave me this number today. She, wanted to meet for coffee? About cupcakes? Even as he said it, he realized how absurd it sounded. Ah, Mr. Morgan, yes, Jessica replied without hesitation. Ms. Reed mentioned you would be calling. She has availability tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Café Laurent on West 23rd Street. Would that work for your schedule? The immediacy of the suggested meeting took Alex by surprise. Tomorrow? Yes, I suppose that would be fine. He would need to rearrange some things, but nothing that couldn't wait. Excellent. I'll confirm with Ms. Reed and send you a calendar invitation with the details. She's looking forward to discussing your baking. After hanging up, Alex sat staring at his phone, still not quite believing what had just happened. Olivia Reed, culinary icon, wanted to discuss his hastily made cupcakes over coffee, tomorrow. That evening, as he prepared dinner, Alex recounted the bizarre turn of events to Lily, who was seated at the kitchen counter completing her homework. Maybe she wants to put our recipe in her cookbook, Lily suggested, more excited by the prospect than Alex thought warranted. I doubt it, sweetheart. It's a very basic recipe that anyone could find online. There's nothing special about it. But she said they were special, Lily countered with the irrefutable logic of a child. And she's a famous chef, so she knows about these things. Alex couldn't argue with this reasoning, though he remained skeptical. We'll find out tomorrow, I guess. Mrs. Patel will watch you after school until I get home from the meeting. Can't I come too? Lily asked plaintively. They're my cupcakes too. It's a school day, Alex reminded her. But I promise to tell you everything as soon as I get home. The next morning, after dropping Lily at school with repeated assurances that he would share every detail of the meeting, Alex found himself standing outside Café Laurent 15 minutes early, nervously straightening his shirt. He'd opted for business casual attire, wanting to appear professional without seeming like he was trying too hard. In his messenger bag was a printout of the cupcake recipe, still bearing splatter marks from their baking adventure. At precisely 10 a.m., a sleek black car pulled up to the curb, and Olivia Reed emerged, thanking the driver before turning toward the cafe. She spotted Alex immediately and approached with a warm smile. Alex, thank you for coming, she greeted him, extending her hand. Today she wore dark jeans and a simple blue blouse under a tailored blazer, an outfit that somehow managed to look both comfortable and elegant. Shall we go inside? The cafe was upscale but comfortable, with warm lighting and well-spaced tables that offered privacy for conversation. A host recognized Olivia immediately, leading them to a quarter table partially screened by decorative plants. After they had ordered coffee, Olivia leaned forward, her expression interested and direct. So, tell me about your baking background, she began. Alex felt a flush of embarrassment. There isn't much to tell. I'm a graphic designer by profession. The cupcakes you had yesterday were actually the first ones I've ever made. Olivia's expression registered surprise. Really? No formal training? No family history of baking? My wife was the baker in our family, Alex admitted, feeling the familiar pang that accompanied mentions of Claire. She passed away 3 years ago. Since then, it's just been Lily and me, and I've stuck to basic cooking, nothing fancy. I'm very sorry for your loss, Olivia said, her tone genuinely sympathetic. That must have been incredibly difficult for both of you. Alex nodded, grateful for her straightforward acknowledgement. It's been a process. We're doing okay now. Finding our way. And that way suddenly includes making remarkably good cupcakes, Olivia observed with a gentle smile. Did you bring the recipe? Alex extracted the printed sheet from his bag, slightly crumpled and bearing evidence of its recent use in the form of vanilla extract droplets and a smudge of butter. It's nothing special, just a basic recipe I found online. Olivia studied the recipe carefully, her expression thoughtful. The ingredients are standard, yes, but there's often magic in execution rather than innovation. Tell me about how you made them. Feeling somewhat self-conscious, Alex described their late-night baking session, including the last-minute discovery of the bake sale notice, the panicked inventory of their pantry, and the makeshift piping bag fashioned from a sandwich bag. As he spoke, Olivia listened intently, occasionally asking questions about specific steps or techniques. So, you didn't have cake flour, and substituted all-purpose with cornstarch, she noted. And you mentioned the cornstarch was in your pantry already. How old was it? The question seemed odd. I'm not sure. A couple of years, maybe? It still had a few months before the expiration date. And the vanilla extract? That was newer. I bought it a few months ago for a rice pudding recipe Lily wanted to try. What brand of butter did you use? Alex struggled to remember. Nothing fancy. Whatever was on sale at the grocery store last time I went shopping. Olivia sat back, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Do you know what I think happened, Alex? He shook his head, mystified by the line of questioning. I think you accidentally created something authentic. In the culinary world, we're constantly pushing boundaries, trying to innovate and impress. We use specialty ingredients, complex techniques, elaborate presentations. But sometimes, the most appealing things are the ones made simply, with love and necessity as the primary ingredients. Alex wasn't sure how to respond to this assessment. They were just cupcakes, he said finally. No, Olivia countered. They weren't just anything. They were honest. And that quality is increasingly rare in food these days. She paused, seeming to make a decision. I have a proposal for you, Alex. One that might sound a bit unusual. His curiosity piqued. Alex waited for her to continue. I'm developing a new cookbook focused on approachable home baking, recipes that busy families can make together. Your story, and those cupcakes, would be perfect for it. I'd like to feature you and Lily, along with your recipe, as part of the book. Of all the possibilities Alex had considered, this hadn't been one of them. Feature us? You mean, like, our names in the acknowledgments or something? Olivia laughed, a warm, genuine sound. No, I mean as a central element. Your story, your photographs, your cupcakes, as one of the highlighted recipes. With your permission, of course, and with appropriate compensation. Alex's mind struggled to process the offer. But we're not bakers. We made one batch of cupcakes. Exactly, Olivia said, leaning forward intently. That's what makes it perfect. My audience includes millions of people who want to bake but feel intimidated by the perceived complexity. Your story shows that sometimes the best results come from necessity and love, rather than expertise. She paused, studying his expression. Would you and Lily be open to trying a few more recipes, under my guidance? Simple things that families could make together? The suggestion caught Alex off guard. Baking had been Claire's territory, a creative outlet he'd never thought to explore himself. But the memory of Lily's delight as they frosted cupcakes together, the unexpected pride he'd felt when they sold out at the bake sale, gave him pause. I'd need to talk to Lily about it, he said finally. She's part of this too. Of course, Olivia agreed readily. Family decisions should be made as a family. But if you're both interested, I think we could create something special together. She signaled for the check. Think it over, discuss it with Lily, and let me know. No pressure. As they parted outside the cafe, Olivia handed him another business card. This one with her personal cell number written on the back. Call me directly when you've decided. And Alex, thank you for the cupcakes. They reminded me why I fell in love with baking in the first place. Alex spent the remainder of the day in a state of disbelief, alternating between excitement at the unexpected opportunity and skepticism about its viability. By the time he picked Lily up from Mrs. Patel's apartment, he had rehearsed several ways of explaining the situation, unsure which approach would make the most sense to a 10-year-old. In the end, Lily's enthusiasm rendered his careful explanations unnecessary. As soon as he mentioned Olivia's proposal to feature their cupcakes in a cookbook, her eyes widened with excitement. Really? Like in a real book that people can buy in stores? With our picture and everything? That's what she suggested, Alex confirmed, still somewhat bewildered by the turn of events. But it would mean trying more recipes, and probably some photo shoots, which might take time away from other activities. Lily dismissed this concern with the wave of a hand. That sounds way more fun than soccer anyway. Can we call her right now and say yes? Don't you want to think about it first? Alex asked, surprised by her immediate acceptance. I already thought about it, Lily declared with the decisive confidence of childhood. It's a good idea, and I think Mom would like it too. The mention of Claire caught Alex by surprise. You do? Lily nodded solemnly. She always said cooking for people you love is a way of showing them how you feel. If we make recipes for a cookbook, we'd be helping lots of families show love to each other. Alex felt a tightness in his throat at the unexpected wisdom in his daughter's words. Claire had indeed often expressed that sentiment, turning even ordinary weeknight dinners into expressions of care through small, thoughtful touches. When you put it that way, it does sound like something she would approve of, he agreed softly. So can we call the famous chef lady now? Lily pressed, bouncing slightly with barely contained excitement. Alex glanced at his watch. It was only 5:30 p.m., likely still within business hours. I suppose we could, he conceded, pulling out the business card with Olivia's personal number. Olivia answered on the third ring, her voice warm with recognition when Alex identified himself. That was faster than I expected, she commented. Have you made a decision? We have, Alex replied, putting the call on speaker so Lily could hear. We'd like to accept your offer. We think it's a great idea. Lily chimed in, unable to contain herself. I told Dad that Mom would like it too because she always said cooking is a way to show love. There was a brief pause before Olivia responded, her voice noticeably touched. That's a beautiful way of looking at it, Lily. And I completely agree. That's exactly the spirit I want this cookbook to capture. They arranged to meet the following weekend at Olivia's test kitchen, where they would try several simple recipes and discuss the concept in more detail. As they ended the call, Alex felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. They were venturing into unknown territory, guided by nothing more than a batch of last-minute cupcakes and his daughter's conviction that it was the right path. The test kitchen, located in a converted loft space in the heart of the city, was both more casual and more impressive than Alex had anticipated. Flooded with natural light from massive windows, the space featured multiple cooking stations, professional-grade equipment, and a comfortable seating area where a small team waited to meet them. Olivia greeted them warmly, introducing her cookbook editor, a photographer, and a food stylist who would be working on the project. To Alex's relief, everyone was friendly and unpretentious, immediately putting Lily at ease with questions about her school and interests. Today is just about getting comfortable and trying a few simple recipes, Olivia explained as she led them to a workstation equipped with bowls, measuring cups, and ingredients already set out. No pressure, no expectations. We're just going to bake together and see what happens. Under Olivia's gentle guidance, they started with a simple chocolate chip cookie recipe, one designed to be foolproof, even for novice bakers. Alex was surprised by how naturally Olivia interacted with Lily, neither talking down to her nor expecting too much, finding exactly the right balance to keep her engaged and learning. As they measured, mixed, and shaped the cookies, the photographer moved around them unobtrusively, capturing candid moments of their collaboration. Alex gradually relaxed, finding unexpected enjoyment in the precise measurements and tactile nature of the process. Baking is a lot like design in some ways, he commented as he showed Lily how to space the cookies evenly on the baking sheet. It's about balance and proportion, making sure all the elements work together harmoniously. That's exactly right, Olivia agreed, looking pleased. Many people don't recognize that connection between different creative disciplines. It's one of the things I wanted to explore in this book, how baking can be accessible to everyone, not just food people. By the end of the afternoon, they had successfully completed 3 different recipes. The chocolate chip cookies, a simple bread that filled the kitchen with a homey aroma as it baked, and a fruit crumble that Lily declared, even better than ice cream, a significant endorsement from a 10-year-old. As they prepared to leave, loaded down with containers of their baked goods to take home, Olivia outlined the next steps. My team will develop a few more recipes tailored specifically for your skill level and interests. We'll schedule regular baking sessions over the next few months, documenting your progress and collecting your honest feedback. And you really think people will be interested in this? Alex asked, still somewhat skeptical despite the enjoyable afternoon. I know they will, Olivia assured him. The market is saturated with professional perfection. What's missing is authenticity. The real journey of learning to bake as a regular person with other responsibilities and limited time. That's what you and Lily bring to this project. Over the following weeks, their weekend baking sessions with Olivia became a highlight for both Alex and Lily. Each recipe was thoughtfully designed to teach specific techniques while remaining achievable for beginners. Olivia was a patient teacher, explaining the science behind baking in terms they could understand and anticipating common mistakes before they could make them. The project expanded beyond simply featuring their cupcake recipe in Olivia's cookbook. Based on the authentic rapport captured in the initial photographs, Olivia's publisher suggested a more ambitious concept. A cookbook focused entirely on the journey of a single father and his daughter learning to bake together, with Olivia as their guide. Family Baking with Alex and Lily would feature approximately 30 recipes, ranging from simple cupcakes to more challenging pastries, each accompanied by stories of their experiences and tips for others. Families looking to connect through baking. The idea was both exciting and intimidating, a much larger commitment than they had initially anticipated. This would mean a significant time investment, Olivia explained during a meeting at her office, where her publisher had presented the expanded concept. We'd need to develop and test all the recipes, conduct multiple photo shoots, and document your learning process over several months. I understand completely if that's more than you're comfortable with. Alex glanced at Lily, who was practically vibrating with excitement beside him. What do you think, Lilypad? That's a lot of baking. It sounds awesome, Lily exclaimed without hesitation. We'd be like real cookbook authors. Seeing her enthusiasm, Alex found his own reservations melting away. Since beginning their weekend baking sessions, he'd noticed subtle but significant changes in their relationship. The focused time together, creating something with their hands, had opened new channels of communication between them. Lily had begun sharing more about school and friends while they measured and mixed. Conversations that might never have happened during their usual rushed weekday routines. We'd need to check our schedule, Alex said, turning back to Olivia and her publisher. But if we can make it work around my job and Lily's school, I think we'd like to try. The publisher, a brisk woman named Helen, with decades of experience in cookbook publishing, smiled approvingly. Wonderful! We'll draw up a formal agreement, including compensation details. Olivia has spoken very highly of your natural approach to baking, and I think readers will connect with your story. As they left the meeting, contract details in hand to review, Alex felt a mixture of excitement and disbelief. 3 weeks ago, he'd been panicking over last-minute cupcakes for a school bake sale. Now, he was discussing a cookbook deal with one of the country's most prominent culinary publishers. Do you think we can really do this? He asked Lily, as they walked toward the subway station. Lily considered the question with surprising seriousness. I think we can if we do it together. And we have Olivia to help us. She knows everything about baking. That's true, Alex agreed, impressed by his daughter's pragmatic assessment. We've got a good team. The formal agreement, when it arrived, was more generous than Alex had anticipated. The publisher offered a substantial advance, a fair royalty structure, and reasonable deadlines that accommodated their existing commitments. After consulting with a lawyer friend who specialized in publishing contracts, Alex signed the agreement, officially committing them to the project. Their lives quickly adapted to incorporate their new baking schedule. Weekends were devoted to recipe testing and development with Olivia, while weekday evenings often found them practicing techniques or retesting recipes that needed adjustment. Their small apartment kitchen underwent a transformation, gradually acquiring professional quality baking pans, a stand mixer, a gift from Olivia, and an expanding collection of ingredients that had previously been foreign to their pantry. The initial stages of the project focused on building their fundamental skills. Under Olivia's guidance, they mastered basic techniques, properly measuring dry ingredients, understanding the importance of temperature in baking, recognizing visual cues that indicated when something was properly baked. Each lesson built upon the previous one, gradually increasing in complexity as their confidence grew. Baking is sequential, Olivia explained as she demonstrated how to fold whipped egg whites into a batter. Each step depends on the one before it. That's why following the order of operations is so important. Alex found himself drawing parallels to his design work, where a similar logic applied. It's like building a visual hierarchy in graphic design. You need to establish the foundation before adding the details that make it special. Exactly, Olivia agreed, looking pleased at the comparison. That's why I think you're taking to this so naturally. You already understand the principle, just in a different medium. For Lily, the project offered new forms of responsibility and accomplishment. Olivia treated her as a genuine collaborator rather than a child helper, asking for her opinions on flavors and textures, and trusting her with increasingly complex tasks. By the third month, Lily could confidently separate eggs, knead dough, and operate the stand mixer without supervision. "Dad, watch this!" she would exclaim, demonstrating a new technique she'd mastered. The pride in her voice was something Alex hadn't heard before, different from her accomplishments in school or sports. This was a pride that came from creating something tangible, something that could be shared and enjoyed by others. The photographer, a soft-spoken man named Ray, with a talent for capturing authentic moments, documented their journey in images that told the story of their growing skills and confidence. In the early photos, Alex's expression showed concentration bordering on anxiety as he carefully measured ingredients. Later images revealed a more relaxed demeanor, flour dusting his cheek as he laughed at something Lily had said while expertly shaping dinner rolls. "These are beautiful, Ray," Olivia commented during a review session, scrolling through the latest batch of photographs. "You're really capturing the evolution of their relationship with baking. It's easy when the subjects are so natural together," Ray replied. "Some of my favorite shots are when they forget I'm even there." One such moment had occurred during a challenging croissant-making session. The process had tested both their patience and their skills, with multiple steps spread over 2 days. When they finally removed the perfectly golden pastries from the oven, the look of astonishment and joy they exchanged had been captured in what would become one of the book's most powerful images. "I never thought we could make something like this," Alex had admitted, breaking open a croissant to reveal the delicate honeycomb structure inside. "These are the kind of things I always assumed only professionals could create." "That's the message of the book," Olivia had replied, visibly pleased by their success. With proper guidance and a willingness to learn, home bakers can create things they never thought possible. As the months progressed, the scope of the project continued to evolve. What had begun as a cookbook was developing additional dimensions, incorporating elements of memoir and parenting advice alongside the recipes. Alex found himself sharing stories about adapting to single parenthood, the challenges of maintaining family traditions after loss, and the unexpected ways in which baking had helped heal some of those wounds. Cooking was Claire's domain, he explained during an interview session that would provide text for the book. "After she died, I stuck to the basics, just trying to keep us fed. Baking felt like her territory, something I wasn't qualified to attempt. It took a school bake sale and a desperate midnight baking session to make me realize I was limiting our lives by avoiding things that reminded me of her." Lily, too, contributed her perspective, speaking with surprising eloquence about her memories of baking with her mother and the different but equally special experience of baking with her father. "Mom always knew exactly what to do," she said during her own interview session. "Dad and I figure it out together. Sometimes we make mistakes, but that's okay because we learn from them. And sometimes our mistakes turn into something new and good. Like when we accidentally put too much vanilla in the pound cake, and it turned out better. 6 months into the project, they had completed development and testing for 20 of the 30 planned recipes. Their apartment frequently smelled of vanilla, cinnamon, and freshly baked bread, a sensory transformation that reflected the deeper changes occurring in their lives. Alex found himself looking forward to their baking sessions, not just as work for the cookbook, but as cherished time with his daughter. The precise, focused nature of baking had become a form of meditation, a respite from the constant digital stimulation of his design work. Olivia, for her part, seemed genuinely delighted by their progress. During one weekend session, as they successfully completed a challenging layer cake that had defeated them on 2 previous attempts, she sat back with a satisfied expression. "You know, I've guided many people through recipes over the years," she commented, watching as they applied the final decorative touches to the cake. Professional chefs, dedicated home cooks, even celebrities for special TV segments. "But I've never enjoyed the process as much as I have with you two." "Really?" Alex asked, surprised by the admission. "We're still pretty amateurish compared to the people you usually work with." "That's exactly why it's been so rewarding," Olivia explained. "You both approach baking with genuine curiosity and joy, without the ego that often comes with culinary training. You're not trying to impress anyone or compete with other bakers. You're just creating something together." This observation sparked a conversation that would significantly impact the direction of the project. As they shared the completed cake, Olivia proposed an idea that had been forming in her mind. "I think there's something more here than just a cookbook," she began thoughtfully. "What you two have developed goes beyond recipes. It's a framework for connection, a way for families to create meaningful experiences together." Alex looked up from his slice of cake, intrigued. "What are you suggesting?" A brand," Olivia replied simply. "A platform built around the concept of family baking as a way to strengthen relationships. The cookbook would be just the beginning. There could be online tutorials, specialized baking kits designed for parents and children, maybe even weekend workshops where families could learn together." The suggestion was unexpected and somewhat overwhelming. Alex had been focused on completing the cookbook, not envisioning a larger enterprise. "That sounds ambitious," he said carefully. Olivia nodded, acknowledging his hesitation. "It is, and it would mean a much bigger commitment than what we initially discussed. But I believe there's a significant audience for this approach to family baking. Not the picture-perfect, Instagram-worthy creations that make most people feel inadequate, but honest, achievable baking that focuses on the process rather than just the result." Lily, who had been listening intently, chimed in with characteristic directness. "So we'd be like baking teachers for other families?" "Exactly," Olivia confirmed with a smile. "You'd be sharing what you've learned, helping other parents and children discover the joy of creating together." Alex considered the proposal, trying to envision what such a business might look like and what it would mean for their lives. "I'd need to think about the practical aspects," he said finally. "My design career, Lily's school and activities, our day-to-day life." "Of course," Olivia agreed immediately. "It's not a decision to make lightly. But I wanted to put the idea on the table as we move into the final phases of the cookbook. If you're interested, we could begin laying the groundwork within the book itself, establishing the philosophy and approach that would define the larger brand." The conversation stayed with Alex over the following days, surfacing during quiet moments at work, and while helping Lily with homework in the evenings. The idea had an undeniable appeal. He'd experienced firsthand the positive impact baking had on their relationship, creating a space for communication and collaboration that hadn't existed before. The thought of helping other families discover similar connections was compelling. During their next weekend session, Alex broached the subject with Olivia again, this time with more specific questions about what building such a brand would entail. She had clearly given it significant thought, outlining a phased approach that would allow them to develop the concept gradually while maintaining their existing commitments. The cookbook launch would be the foundation, she explained, sketching a timeline on a notepad. From there, we could develop an online presence with tutorial videos filmed during weekend sessions, similar to what we're doing now. If the response is positive, we could explore product development baking kits designed specifically for family use. with child-friendly tools and ingredients packaged for specific recipes. And what would your role be in all this? Alex asked, aware that her involvement would be crucial to the venture's credibility and success. I'd be your partner and mentor, Olivia replied without hesitation. My established platform would help introduce the concept to a wider audience, and my culinary expertise would ensure the quality of the content and products. But the heart of it would be your authentic journey as a father and daughter learning together. After further discussion with Lily, who was enthusiastically in favor of the idea, Alex decided to take a cautious step forward. They would complete the cookbook as planned, incorporating elements that could support a larger brand if they chose to pursue it, but without committing to the full concept until they could assess the public response to their story. With this tentative agreement in place, the final months of cookbook development took on new significance. Each recipe was evaluated not just for its culinary merits, but for its potential to illustrate broader themes of family connection and, quote, accessible skill building. The accompanying text evolved to emphasize their learning process and the meaningful conversations that had emerged during their baking sessions. By the time they completed the final recipe, a celebratory 3-layer cake that incorporated techniques they had mastered throughout their journey, the cookbook had transformed from a simple collection of recipes into a narrative of family resilience and rediscovered joy. I'm incredibly proud of what we've created together, Olivia told them during their final development session. The completed manuscript spread before them on her office table. This book has heart in a way that's rare in culinary publishing. The subsequent months were a whirlwind of finalization activities, copy editing, design reviews, marketing planning, and preliminary publicity. Alex found his graphic design background unexpectedly valuable during these phases, allowing him to collaborate meaningfully with the book's design team to ensure the visual elements aligned with the authentic, approachable tone they had worked so hard to establish. As the publication date approached, the marketing team arranged for preliminary publicity, including a segment on a popular morning television show. The night before their first TV appearance, Alex found himself fighting a wave of anxiety as he helped Lily select an outfit for the broadcast. What if I forget what to say? He worried aloud as Lily tried on a third potential shirt. Or worse, what if I mess up the recipe on national television? Lily, who seemed remarkably unfazed by the prospect of appearing on a show watched by millions, shrugged philosophically. Olivia says mistakes are part of baking. If we mess up, we'll just show people that it's okay not to be perfect. The simple wisdom in her response caught Alex by surprise, a reminder of how much his daughter had grown throughout this process. She was right. Of course. The entire premise of their book was that baking was about the journey, not just the final product. Perfection wasn't the goal. Connection was. The television appearance the next morning went better than Alex could have hoped. The host was genuinely engaged by their story, asking thoughtful questions about how baking had changed their relationship. Lily charmed the audience with her straightforward responses and evident enthusiasm as they demonstrated a simple cookie recipe from the book. When Alex accidentally spilled vanilla extract on the counter, he found himself laughing rather than panicking, turning the moment into an opportunity to discuss how baking taught flexibility and problem-solving. "See, Dad? Mistakes are okay," Lily said on camera, handing him a towel with a reassuring pat on the arm that drew appreciative laughter from the studio audience. By the time the segment ended, they had received an invitation to return for a longer feature when the book was released, a promising start to their publicity campaign. The publisher's marketing efforts intensified in the weeks leading up to the launch. Advanced copies sent to culinary influencers and food writers generated positive growl. Early reviews, with many commentators noting the refreshing authenticity of the approach. A feature article in a major food magazine highlighted the unique father-daughter dynamic and the book's emphasis on baking as a vehicle for family connection. In a genre often dominated by technical perfection and aspirational imagery, Family Baking with Alex and Lily offers something genuinely different, wrote one influential reviewer. The Morgan family's journey from novice bakers to confident creators is documented with honesty and warmth, making the book as much a guide to strengthening family bonds as it is a collection of delicious recipes. The book launch event was held at a popular independent bookstore, known for its excellent cookbook selection. Alex had anticipated a modest turnout, perhaps a few dozen interested local bakers. He was stunned to arrive and find the store packed with people, with a line stretching out the door and around the corner. "This is incredible," he murmured to Olivia as they surveyed the crowd from a back room where they were preparing for the presentation. "Are book launches usually like this?" Olivia smiled, visibly pleased by the turnout. "Not usually, no. You struck a chord with people, Alex. Your story resonates because it's authentic and relatable. In a world of carefully curated social media perfection, you and Lily offer something genuine." The event itself was a blur of activity. A brief presentation about the book's development, a demonstration of one of their signature recipes, and a lengthy signing session where they met readers ranging from experienced bakers to parents looking for ways to connect with their children. Many people shared their own stories of how baking had featured in their family traditions, or how they hoped to establish such traditions. "My mother taught me to bake, but I've never known how to pass those skills on to my own kids," one father confided as Alex signed his book. "Your approach makes it seem approachable, not intimidating. My daughter and I had been growing apart as she enters her teens," a mother shared quietly. "I'm hoping baking together might give us neutral territory to reconnect." Each story reinforced what Olivia had suggested months earlier. There was a genuine need for the kind of framework they had developed, a structured yet flexible approach to using baking as a tool for family bonding. The book's success exceeded everyone's expectations. Within a week of release, it had climbed to the top of the culinary bestseller lists and was generating discussion beyond traditional cooking circles, featured in parenting magazines and family psychology publications. The initial print run sold out within 10 days, prompting the publisher to rush a second printing 2 months after the release. With sales continuing to strengthen and positive reviews accumulating, Olivia arranged a meeting to discuss next steps. They gathered in her office, where a whiteboard was covered with potential brand extensions and development pathways. "The response has been extraordinary," she began, presenting them with the latest sales figures and media coverage. "You've clearly identified an underserved market. The question now is how you want to develop this platform moving forward." Alex looked at Lily, who had been included in the meeting at his insistence. This decision would impact her life as much as his own. "What do you think, Lilypad? Should we take the next step?" Lily considered the question with the thoughtful expression that had become increasingly common as she approached her 11th birthday. "I think we should," she said finally. "Baking with you has been the best thing ever. If we can help other families have that too, we should do it." With Lily's endorsement, Alex turned back to Olivia with newfound resolution. "Let's do it. But we need to make sure it stays true to what made the book special. No manufactured perfection, no unrealistic expectations. Just honest baking and real family connection." "Absolutely," Olivia agreed firmly. "That authenticity is the core of your appeal. We wouldn't want to lose that." Over the following year, Morgan Family Baking evolved from a single cookbook into a multifaceted brand. They launched a website featuring tutorial videos filmed in their actual apartment kitchen, showing real-time problem-solving and occasional failures alongside successes. Their social media presence grew organically, with followers appreciating their unfiltered approach to family baking. The product line began with carefully curated baking kits, each containing child-friendly tools, pre-measured ingredients for specific recipes, and guidance cards with conversation prompts designed to foster meaningful interaction during the baking process. The kits were an immediate hit, particularly among parents who felt intimidated by baking, but wanted to create memories with their children. Weekend workshops, initially held at a local culinary school, expanded to multiple cities as demand grew. These events brought families together for hands-on baking experiences, creating supportive communities of parents and children learning alongside each other. Through it all, Alex and Lily maintained a genuine approach that had defined their journey from the beginning. They shared their continuing education honestly, documenting new challenges and occasional setbacks as they tackled more advanced techniques. When a soufflé collapsed during a live demonstration, Alex's good-humored response and Lily's philosophical, "That's why we always have a backup plan," became one of their most shared moments online. 18 months after their first cupcakes had sold out at the school bake sale, Alex found himself standing in the newly renovated commercial kitchen that served as the headquarters for their growing enterprise. The space, once a neglected warehouse in a transitioning neighborhood, now housed their product development area, video studio, and administrative offices. A team of 12 employees, ranging from culinary experts to marketing specialists, had joined their extended family, each committed to the core values of authenticity and connection that defined the brand. Olivia, who had transitioned from mentor to business partner, joined him at the window overlooking the main workspace, where Lily was leading a group of visiting children in a cookie decorating session as part of a community outreach program they had recently launched. "Did you ever imagine this is where a last-minute batch of cupcakes would lead?" Olivia asked, watching the scene with evident satisfaction. Alex shook his head, still sometimes amazed by the trajectory their lives had taken. "Never. I was just trying to fulfill a school obligation without embarrassing my daughter." "You did much more than that," Olivia observed. "You found a way to honor your wife's memory while creating something new and meaningful with Lily. And in the process, you've helped thousands of other families strengthen their bonds through a shared love of baking." The observation resonated deeply with Alex. What had begun as a desperate midnight baking session had evolved into a journey of healing and connection. Not just for him and Lily, but for the community that had formed around their story. The bakery brand had won industry awards and commercial success. But the true measure of their achievement lay in the letters and messages they received daily from families whose relationships had been enriched through their approach to baking together. Later that evening, as Alex and Lily worked side by side in their home kitchen developing a new recipe for their upcoming second cookbook, he was struck by how natural it felt now, this shared creative process that had once seemed so foreign to him. Lily, growing taller and more confident by the day, measured ingredients with practiced precision while suggesting a flavor modification that hadn't occurred to him. "What if we added a hint of cardamom?" she proposed, carefully separating egg whites from yolks, just enough to make people wonder what the secret ingredient is. "Worth trying," Alex agreed, adjusting the recipe notes. "Your palate is getting more sophisticated than mine." Lily grinned, pleased by the acknowledgement. "I've been paying attention during Olivia's flavor development sessions," she says. "Sometimes the unexpected combinations create the most memorable results." As they continued working, their movements synchronized through months of practice. Alex reflected on Olivia's words about unexpected combinations. His graphic design background, Lily's natural creativity, the tragic loss that had forced them to rebuild their family dynamic. Olivia's turned culinary expertise, a school bake sale deadline, and a celebrity chef with an eye for authentic stories. All these disparate elements had combined to create something neither he nor Lily could have imagined. Like the best recipes, their journey had required precise measurements of effort and time, careful attention to process, and a willingness to adapt when things didn't go exactly as planned. The result was a life rich with purpose and connection, as satisfying as the perfect bite of homemade cake shared with someone you love. "Dad," Lily said, interrupting his reflections as she carefully folded the whipped egg whites into the batter. "Do you think Mom would be proud of what we've created?" Alex looked at his daughter, seeing Claire's eyes and smile in her growing face, along with a confidence and purpose that was entirely Lily's own. "I think she would be amazed," he replied honestly, "not just by the business or the books, but by who we've become together. That's the real achievement." Lily nodded, satisfied with this assessment. "I think so too. And I think she'd like the cardamom in this cake." "Then cardamom it is," Alex agreed, making a note in the recipe draft. "Let's see where it takes us."